Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Beth Ann. Today I am doing the Philosophy of Reading tag, which is a new tag. Well, I guess it came out like a week ago. I'm always late to the party, but this is early to the party for me. So anyway, new tag created by Brandon's Bookshelf. So you should definitely go over and watch his video about it. I will link to that below. And there is a giveaway involved for folks who do this tag, I think by the end of the year. He gave it like 30 days or something. So definitely go check that out. And a bunch of people have been jumping on this already. So there are plenty of versions of this tag going around BookTube, and they're fun to listen to. So this is a tag that isn't necessarily about holding up books, what's your favorite book in various categories kind of thing. It's more about who we are as readers. It's got a lot of questions that I've seen in other tags, but they're sort of rearranged and put into the same tag in a new way. So I thought this would be fun. So the questions are down below. I will also have timestamps for those who don't want to sit through the whole thing. So number one, what's most important? A good character, plot, or message? So for me, definitely a good character in fiction is the most important. If I want to be just totally wrapped up in a book, can't put it down, it's going to be because of the character, not because of the plot or the messaging. Plot has to hang together, but I'm more forgiving of plot mistakes than anything else or plot discontinuities. Message, I do like books that say something. Say something about society or about human nature. It doesn't even have to be like overt messaging. So I guess we go with theme or something. So I do like books that have something to say, but I don't need it because I'll also just uh, read books purely for enjoyment and don't really need a message. So yeah, definitely good character, most important for me. Number two, should one read books about ideas or opinions they disagree with? I think yes, although with the caveat from my own life that reading a book can be a pretty substantial time commitment, and we live in the 21st century. There's so many other ways of getting information. So I often actually get my information about opinions that I disagree with, like A, from talking to people, because I have a lot of friends and family who have opinions that I disagree with. So talking to people, but also finding pieces of really good journalism. That actually sort of dig into like who are the people that think these opinions that are different from mine, and how did their opinions evolve, etc., etc. So yeah, because reading a book is a time commitment and I'm a parent with not a lot of time, I tend to seek out shorter formats when exploring others' ideas and opinions. Okay, number three, as tech advances, what do you think will be the role of books? So, a lot of people have been focused on really sci fi things, like if you can get a book directly implanted into your brain and like neural links and stuff. I think Brandon mentioned some of that in his original tag. And like, as a biologist, we are very, very far away from any of that. And I have some questions about whether it ever will work with the way our brains are biologically. So I think that's sort of a rabbit hole. I mean, I guess it's fun to think about, but yeah, I mean, I think we've seen a real evolution just in the past couple of decades with how books have changed. I mean, we've seen audiobooks really take off. We've seen e-readers really take off, electronic book formats. And to me, those are all reading. Like, I don't care if somebody else is reading a physical book or listening to an audiobook. They're still getting the story. If there's a message to it, they're still getting the message. If it's nonfiction, they're still absorbing that information. So, um, to me, that's really no different for other people. I mean, to me, there's the difference between picking up a physical book and a non-physical book is huge. And while I do use audiobooks and e-readers, I much prefer to read a physical book. But that's because that's what I grew up with. And you know, one thing we see with audiobooks and e-readers is more people have come to reading because they're accessing books in a format that's more friendly to them. And I think that's wonderful. So yeah, so I think as tech advances, we'll see sort of maybe additional formats or additional ways of people to experience books. Certainly, the technology we already have will get better. I think it's possible that we could see physical books slip out of the economy entirely. I mean, there's a lot of ways in which they're more expensive um, and not good for the environment, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, so I think physical books hope not in my lifetime, but I think in general might sort of, like I said, slip out of the economy. But I think we're always going to have people absorbing stories through visual or audio formats. Okay, number 4, how important are summaries, review, and art in your book choosing? They can be very important. I will impulse buy books based on the cover art. If I'm in a physical bookstore, it's very dangerous. Um, I will check like the inside of the book jacket or something to just make sure that it's something vaguely interesting, but basically buy it for the cover. Um, I will read plenty of things, yeah, not having heard of them, but especially now that I watch a lot of BookTube, there's a lot of BookTubers and even BookTubers that I don't know. If I'm sort of chasing down a tag or something, I'll just be adding books to my TBR willy nilly because people are very convincing when they're excited about a book that they liked, and then I want to add it. So yeah, they can be very important in my book choosing. Number 5, should one ever skim or scan a book? And I think absolutely yes. I take a little bit of offense if someone skims a book and then they're like, yeah, I read it. And I'm like, that seems like it shouldn't count if you're keeping count. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you don't have a lot of time or it's a topic that's only of peripheral interest or you just want to check out a book and you end up skimming the whole thing, I mean, there's a ton of reasons why skimming or scanning a book is appropriate to the situation. I only do it really with nonfiction if I'm looking for a specific piece of information and need to skim parts of the book to find it. If I find myself skimming a fiction book, that's usually going to be a DNF. Number 6, should reading always be enjoyable? Like lots of people have been saying, I think no, but it's also fine if some people only read for enjoyment. I think that's totally fine. You do you. For me, I do a lot of reading for enjoyment, but I also like to learn about a lot of tough topics, as others have been saying, that are not really enjoyable to read about. But there is still, even reading about something really tough and awful, if the author has written it well, there is enjoyment in sort of seeing that craft. And then there's also enjoyment in the process of learning. Because usually, if I'm reading about a tough topic, it's because I want to learn about it. And so then I feel like I learned something at the end of that process, and that feels good. Number 7, is it important to be well read? Who the heck even knows what well read means? Um, I think it's important for people to learn things and access stories. And, I'm not a TV person, but for some people, that's watching TV and movies. And I think that's fantastic. I would look at somebody a little bit askance if they never read and they never watch TV or movies. Um, so yeah, so I certainly don't have any criteria for what I would consider like a well-read person, but somebody who seeks out information and stories is somebody I can get along with, and I think people should do that. Number 8, what is your book buying process? Um, See book, buy book. Number 9, what is your reading process? See book, read book. What is there to the process? I'll have to watch more tags and see if there are more people that talk about processes. I don't need an ambiance or anything like that. Even if I'm trying to take notes on a book, I'm half the time I'm reading it in a place where I've forgotten my sticky notes or whatever. So it's just like I just forge ahead. It's fine. So there's no process here. Number 10, how do you use what you read? That seems very easy to answer for some nonfiction. It's learning. I read nonfiction about stuff related to my work for sure. I read nonfiction related to politics or related to the historical and contemporary conditions out of which politics grows. And so that sort of influences my worldview and gets used when I make my own decisions. But even like fiction, I use it to become a more well-rounded person. I use it to see other viewpoints, and to see my own viewpoint sort of confirmed in literature, but also to see other viewpoints. And yeah. Okay, number 11, if you could download a book to your brain, would you still read? See my answer to number 3. That is like so far in the realm of sci-fi. Like, guys. So if I could download a book to my brain, I would still read because it's not the information. I mean, we could be in a particular time, millennia in the future, where it is possible to download some information to your brain, in which case, yes, I would download, some pieces of information that are helpful, like say to my professional life or to navigating the tax system or something. But what is the like experience of reading is so enjoyable that I would never give that up. Also, the only thing we're like even remotely close to is like maybe being able to like see a book text like on your retina or something. Like you're still reading. All right. Number 12. What are your views on rereading a book? Absolutely. I do reread. I love hearing about other people rereading because it's fun to see what people love. Rereading, great. 13. What makes a book good? Very compelling writing. If it's fiction, strong characters. If it's nonfiction, really compelling writing. Well organized thoughts. Like the author has to, like, I really don't like nonfiction books where the author seems to lose sight of like a central message or theme as they're going through the book. And, then it's just a history textbook, but, or, whatever disconnected chapters of information. So yeah, maintaining some sort of like reason that the book came together is very helpful. So yeah, compelling writing and yeah, in fiction, strong characters. Yeah. What makes a book bad? Bad writing? I think Brian over at Bookish said getting sort of pulled out of the story, like when the writing sort of drops you out of the story, that really drives me crazy. Although if the rest of the book is good enough, that might not be enough for a DNF, especially if it only happens occasionally. I can think of some books off the top of my head, like I feel like Kindred by Octavia Butler did that a little bit. So yeah, right, and plot. Sometimes plot can be so ludicrous that I'm just like, no, we're done here. This is a bad book. Number 15, how do you feel about not finishing a book? Usually pretty good. If I'm to the point where I'm thinking about not finishing a book, then it's because I really don't want to read that book and I want to spend my time reading better books. So I don't feel bad about that. I do feel bad about books. This happens to me especially with nonfiction where I've been reading it, then I put it aside for a little while. And then I keep forgetting to come back to it, but I want to, and then it just starts to weigh on me. I have a few books in my apartment like that right now, so I do feel bad about that. Should the author's personal life matter at all? So I think this question to me is like flagging an interesting thing that I feel like we have going on in our culture and politics, where it's like nobody's personal life should matter to anybody else. But like when you are a public figure, as many writers are, we interview them, we want to see them in context where they're not just a name on a book jacket, right? When you have any kind of public life, if you are going to make statements drawn from your personal life about how other people live their personal lives, then you're in trouble with me. That is not okay. Or it's okay, but like then I can absolutely not buy your books and can try to convince other people not to buy your books, et cetera, et cetera. So of course I'm thinking about the writer of the Harry Potter books, as I'm sort of saying all this. It's like I don't care what her personal opinions are or any other author. Have your own personal opinions, have your own personal life, etc. But when you start to take a public platform arguing for taking away other people's rights or preventing them from gaining them, um, you know, that really matters. That says something to you as a person. It says something to about the worldview that your writing came out of. I mean, it's just not a good scene. So it matters. All right, number 17. If you could only read one genre for the rest of time, what would it be? I refuse to answer. Number 18. Do you ever read a book without knowing anything about it? Ish. I mean, when I pick up a book knowing nothing about it, it's because the cover was really cool in a bookstore and I didn't have time to look into it. Number 19, what author, genre, series, or culture can you just not get into and why? There's a few answers to this. So Brian over at Bookish mentioned Jonathan Franzen, so I'll say that again. I've mentioned him in some of my other book tags. I've only tried to read one of his books and I was just like, this is just, no, it felt like navel-gazing white dude, so boring. And then another one is Brandon Sanderson, who I absolutely expected to love, and I think I will love if I read him when his whole series is out or when my kid has grown up or something. But the characters were just so flat in The Way of Kings, and I was just not getting into it, not enjoying them for the first like 100 pages. They sounded the same, like all the characters sounded interchangeable. So I was just like, this is not fun. So I've not been able to get into Brandon Sanderson, at least his adult epic fantasy. I actually have read some of his young adult stuff, and really liked it. So the book that has Steelheart, the series that has Steelheart in it, there's a couple books there. I really enjoyed that. And then number 20, do you think everyone should read and why? So going back to some other thing where I was talking about some earlier question about formats, like I think everybody should want to learn and everybody should access stories. And for me, that's mostly through books. But I really don't think that there's that much difference, sort of, uh, in terms of what I want people to get out of reading and between watching TV and movies. I mean, there are amazing documentaries if you want to talk about nonfiction. There are amazing fiction TV shows and movies. Same with books. And so I'm not really going to judge someone for the format. But I do think everyone should, be consuming stories, and should be learning things through one format or another. And of course, because I love reading, I think everyone should read. But I understand that a lot of people don't, and there are other ways to do those things. So, okay, that's a long tag. I will stop. But I hope you all enjoyed that, and drop me a comment down below if you've already done this tag or if you're thinking about doing it, because I really like these types of questions and I want to see everybody's answers. All right, I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks. Bye.